Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and for the last week I've been driving the 2025 Volkswagen Golf GTI SE. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving and quite frankly loving the GTI, as well as on the same day I'm also uploading my Volkswagen Golf R video. I spent another week about a month ago with that Golf R, and so today we're going to be doing a lot of comparing and contrasting between the two and talking about the highs and lows of the Golf GTI. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2-liter turbo under the hood. Well, it makes about 241 horsepower, which is significantly less than the Golf R. The Golf R makes about 328. However, honestly, and I'm not kidding about this, without driving them directly back to back, the GTI doesn't feel much slower than the Golf R. It is. On paper, in real life, it is. But without driving them back to back, you don't really notice it all that much. The GTI still throws you back in your seat, it still makes great power, it still makes good noises, and it is essentially the same engine as the Golf R, just detuned. So I was happily surprised to drive this car on the highway, put my foot flat to the floor, and was really truly impressed with the power. I was expecting it to fall flat on its face given the Golf R, but it really doesn't, and that has been a wonderful surprise. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 7-speed automatic dual clutch. For the 2025 model year, they've gotten rid of the manual option, and so it is only automatic. It's a very great automatic. The DSG is an absolutely wonderful transmission, but you just don't get that choice of manual anymore. Last but not least about the drivetrain, this of course is front-wheel drive, where the Golf R was all-wheel. How does it feel to drive the Golf GTI? I like it a lot. As I mentioned, it's quick, it sounds good, the ride is pretty good as well. It's overall a very enjoyable, very pleasurable driving experience. It does kind of everything I want it to do. The only real downside of this is that it is a little understeery. Definitely coming into a corner pretty hot, you do start to notice that it is front-wheel drive only. And in inclement weather, wintertime, I would like that all-wheel drive of the Golf R, but it's not necessary. On the highway, poles, from a stoplight, from a dig, whatever you want to call it, this has been a pretty good experience, and it keeps up, so I'm happy to report that. Visibility is decent as well, and you have 3 different drive modes that we'll talk about later on. This car also does have launch control, so it's a little bit to turn on, but you have to turn the traction control off. You hit off here, and then you also have to confirm it in the gauge cluster. You heard that little beep. That means traction control is fully off. And I believe we have to be in sport mode. So let's try launch control. All right, so then left foot brake, hard on the brake. It sort of takes your breath away a little bit, but it'll launch you. It'll launch you hard. This thing is great. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. This is pretty customizable. You can tell it a couple different things, or your most important things you want to see that will make it bright and center. You can change them around, and I really like this. I think they've been clear and easy to read while driving. You could glance at them and know what you're doing, which is definitely very nice. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our cruise control options, which are normal physical buttons. They have gone away with the haptic buttons, and I'm very happy to see that. Volume is off to the left as well, and off to the right, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our skip track, and we do have a nice little GTI badge down below. Off to the left, we do have our headlight and fog light switches, as well as our defrost and a climate control vent. And up above, we do have our Harman Kardon speaker. This does have a great speaker system. I've loved listening to it over the last week. And moving on to the door, we have our lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get our giant infotainment display. This infotainment definitely dominates the interior. It is nice, has a good refresh rate, good coloring to it, easy to use and easy to navigate. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It works well. I really, really like it. However, the downside of this is that the climate controls are mostly ran through the screen. I don't love this, especially fan speed. I'm more of a fan speed guy than a temperature guy. I'm changing the fan speed a lot. I don't usually change the temperature. It's either on high or low. So it was a little annoying to have to keep swiping through menus just to change the fan speed. We do have heated seats as well, and we do get a backup camera, which has been very nice over my week with it. Down below, we have a volume slider. I don't love this. And then we have 2 temperature sliders. You would think this means dual zone climate. It does not. The Golf R gets dual zone climate, but the GTI only gets single zone climate. So the passenger side temperature control still changes the temperature, but it's just the one temperature zone. Kind of misleading, but I understand why they left it in. Down below, we have 2 climate vents, hazard switch, our assist button, climate hotkey, parking menu, and drive mode. So we do have 3 drive modes here for eco, comfort, and sport, as well as a customizable mode. Then we get 2 USB-Cs, a wireless charger, and moving into the center, we have our engine start-stop and the shifter. The shifter is small and out of the way, and honestly, I kind of like this. It maintains a lot of extra space in the interior that I quite like, and I think it looks good as well. And then we do have cup holders. Similar to the Golf R, we will do a big friggin' bottle test. Unfortunately, it fails, to be expected, but still sad nevertheless. Then we do have a 12-volt outlet and a center console, and the seats. The seats are a nice cloth. They do say GTI on them. I think this is a really, really cool and interesting look. They've been comfortable enough, and these seats are half manual, half power. So here we get power to recline and incline, but then moving forward and back, that's a lever. And going up and down is a pump. So kind of a weird middle ground for the seats, but saving money, saving weight, whatever. They've been comfortable enough, and I don't mind them past that, and they are heated, so I guess I can give it that. Speaking of seats, however, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2025 Volkswagen Golf GTI SE, and a couple of things to note. First of all, we do get these tiny pockets on the backs of the seats. My knees are hitting the seat in front of me, but my head's not hitting the ceiling, so vertically, if you're more torso, you're gonna be able to fit back here. I'm 5'11", not a small guy. My head space, I could fit my fist, sideways above my head. If you're over 6 foot, it might start to become a little bit of a struggle. The Golf has always been a smaller vehicle. They make the Jetta, they make other vehicles that are bigger. But the biggest thing, quite literally, is the seats are very imposing. They're very big, and they kind of have these broad shoulders. I feel like 2 bodyguards are staring at me from the front. Very, very intimidating. We do have power windows back here. I don't know why we wouldn't in 2025, but good to note. We do have lights, LED, very nice to see that. Not all cars, especially the current model Mazda CX-5, does not come with LEDs from the factory. On the upper trims it does, but not the lower trims, which is pretty stupid. We do have a fold-down center console with 2 cup holders, and we can open up a pass-through into the trunk, which we'll talk about now. All right, around the back of the GTI. How'd you like that transition? And we do have some pretty decent trunk space. Nothing really too crazy. I was able to fit all my RC car stuff, which arguably isn't a whole lot, but able to fit it back here pretty comfortably. We can put some extra stuff down here. Interestingly enough, we do have a spare tire as well as a supplementary speaker inside said spare tire. Very, very cool. Some good compact spacing here from Volkswagen. Other than that, nothing too crazy. You do get a little privacy shelf, which is definitely nice to see. But again, it's a trunk. It's useful. It's a hatchback. It's useful. There it is. It's useful. Now we got to talk about the looks. And this is finished in King's Red. Love the look and feel of that. And I like the look of the GTI. I think this looks great. I do think the Golf R looks a little bit more aggressive, but honestly not much. You could buy some AutoZone stick-ons and this is gonna look just as aggressive as that Golf R for nearly $16,000 less. I think it's sculpted well. I think the Mark 8 looks great. It's still so identifiable as a Golf while still looking happily modern. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the GTI for the last week? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have truly loved my experience driving this GTI. The downsides are few and far between. I can understand if you don't like all the screens in here, that's fine. But in usability, honestly, I didn't really mind it. I think it all worked pretty well besides the climate controls, which I'm always going to complain about. And I do think it's a little silly to have a passenger side temperature slider that doesn't actually give the passenger their own temperature. I think that's a little silly. However, let's compare this to the Golf R. I recently spent another week in the Golf R, and I also love that. I think the Golf R is an amazing, amazing product, but you have to look at the prices. This is about $37,000. The Golf R was about $53,000. That's a $16,000 difference. Now, the Golf R gets 80 or some more horsepower. It gets all-wheel drive. It gets cooled seats and dual zone climate and a lot of niceties, sure. But does it get $16,000 better? I don't know. And honestly, I don't really think so. So I have done my diligent research and I thought, okay, if I had $53,000 to spend on a car and I had to get a Golf, would I buy the Golf R or would I buy the GTI? I would buy the GTI, and so I went online to God's Showroom, aka Facebook Marketplace, and I said, okay, if I were to buy the GTI, what would I spend the other $16,000 on? And I pulled up some pretty enticing offers like this, or this, or this, or this, or this. To push it a little bit further, you could buy a Golf GTI and a Golf R and another GTI. If you want to keep it Volkswagen, you could also buy this along with it. There are a lot of options. Is the Golf R great? Yes, it's incredible. But in the world that we live in where everyone's trying to save a dollar, is it worth that jump up? I don't know. Maybe to you it is. Maybe to you, you want that all-wheel drive, you want the top dog, you want to be the most interesting person in the room. Go get that. Go get the Golf R. But if you buy the GTI, are you missing out on a completely new world? No. So this car starts to feel relatively budget-friendly, and that is a great, great thing. The GTI has always been a wonderful car, and this is no different. This is wonderful. And I have to say, I'm a big fan. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Volkswagen for letting me borrow their GTI and the Golf R for 2 separate weeks out of this year. It's been an absolute pleasure. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of these vehicles, and of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.